Welcome back to Financial Independence 101. This is Mike. Today I'm going to talk to you about Mercari, how they're changing their seller fees. This happened about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to explain why they're doing it and what's changing and how both buyers and sellers are affected. Mostly they want to attract sellers to the platform, and I'm going to explain how I know they need more sellers. But basically, sellers don't pay the fees, buyers pay the fees now, and there will be one fee that sellers will end up paying, and they can control that. Anyhow, we're going to talk about this and more, and my thoughts on it coming up. All right, so before we get into all this, I do want to say, why is Mercari making these changes, the fee changes? Because they want to attract more sellers, because they want to take on the big dog. If you don't have the product to sell, you can't push through the transactions, and you can't make your money. You can't make the fees you charge on each sell if you're not making the sales, if you don't have the product up there, if you don't have the sellers, you don't have a strong seller base. And I know as a user, they keep trying to entice me to start selling, and I know it's obvious what they're doing here. Now, I found conflicting different data saying who sells more, Mercari or eBay, but I found one article here discussing it. I'll just kind of run with it, and I personally believe Mercari is nowhere near as big as eBay. Now, this shows here at the top, they do 10 billion in monthly transactions, and down there at the bottom, it says that eBay does 2 billion a day. So that'd be 60 billion a month versus 10 billion for Mercari, and Mercari is still only a sixth the size of eBay. According to this article here, you can find other articles that are saying different things, but this is why they're doing it. They need more sellers so they can make more money. So what exactly is this change? So Mercari has completely waived seller fees going forward, meaning that sellers are not going to be charged the fee. Buyers will now pay a service fee to cover the costs, and a processing fee, by the way. If you're primarily selling through eBay, consider making the switch according to this. This is, of course, taken directly from Mercari, I believe. Anyhow, the reason that they're doing this is to attract sellers, and they want to get sellers in there, but there's going to be some unintended consequences, obviously. Buyers don't want to see the fee they're paying. Really, buyers are still really paying the fee in the end, because the buyers pay for everything. In the end, they're still paying for it. It's just the fact that it's a build-up, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here is an example of something. I didn't buy this, I just clicked on it to see what it would charge me. Now, your offer price of $38, delivery fee of $5, okay, that makes sense. But then the service fee's thrown in for $3.42, and a processing fee. If you're using a credit card, it's a processing fee. I think the way to avoid processing fee is to use a bank, direct bank. I don't know. Actually, I don't know the answer to that. But there's tax on there. So basically, I would have, if I bought this, paid $5 more, 5 something more, almost $5.40, than I would have 2 weeks ago. And so with that, that's a turnoff. Now, the unintended consequence is you're going to have less people looking at Mercari for items to buy. And I will tell you something that I've noticed on Mercari that I haven't bought anything in a while, and it's kind of admitting they need more sellers, because I haven't seen a lot of new, fresh product for months. There's been a few things trickling in here and there, but for the most part, it's the same stuff that's been up there for several months for the 30-odd items I search. Now, according to that example, I did the math on it, and it was around 13%. According to this here, the basic fees are 13.25% on the total amount of the sell up to $7,500 calculated per item, and 2.35% on the portion of the sell over $7,500. So this is the fee, and it's exactly what I calculated based on my example, so I'm not really surprised. But it was including the processing fee. So I added the processing fee together with that other fee. And with that, buyers don't want to see it. Even though sellers were actually paying it, the buyers are going to start doing something different. So a couple things are going to happen with buyers. Number one, less buyers are going to be buying your stuff. Less people are going to be buying on Mercari. Like me personally, I'm turned off by it, and I don't like the idea at all that buyers are paying this, and it just turns me off. When you look at eBay and you buy your stuff, if you buy it for the same exact price, it's cheaper on eBay now for the buyer to buy the exact same item for the exact same price. So if I were to buy it from Mercari, I'd have to make a deep offer on it and then just let it ride. And if they accept the offer, good. If they don't, then I just won't buy it. And so sellers are going to have to change their mentality. They're going to have to start making offers. But we've got another problem, and I know Mercari knows this. They understand this. But I've watched like 3 or 4 different people discussing their situation with this, and here's something that happened to one young lady. She says that after this change went into effect, Mercari marked her whole store down by 10%, which isn't really a big deal, but it was not by her request. And if you operate on Mercari, you know that there's like a minimum amount that they will accept you to make an offer. So I think it's like 20%. You can offer 20% below what the asking price is. So once you already knocked it down 10%, you're going to see 20% lower offers flowing in unless you set a baseline number. And of course, that's my understanding. I've never sold anything on Mercari before, so I don't know. And I take all these sellers' advice at their word, because these people that do it on a daily basis and talk about it, I'm pretty sure they know what they're talking about. But for the most part, as a user, I know how the user end works, and you make an offer, it's about 20% less. Whenever it's marked down, you can offer lower than it was when it was at a higher price, and that's just kind of the whole thing. That doesn't mean the sellers have to accept it, though, but most of the time, if you decline an offer, you're probably just not going to get that sale. On top of that, they've changed the buyer protection. Now, this is something that buyers themselves that are paying this fee for the seller now are going to get something out of it. You get 3 days or 72 hours once you receive the item. So once it says delivered, you have that time to do a return for any reason at all. It doesn't matter at all why you want to return it. And if you just say, I changed my mind, I just don't want it anymore, you can force that return. Now, the thing is, and this is the gray area that I still don't know, and I try to look it up and research it, but the sellers that have accepted returns say that what's going on with this is that if you return it for anything other than doesn't match the description, so any other reason you return it, then you're not going to get the shipping back. So you will have to pay for the shipping. And I think that's fair to the seller, but that I just think buyers are probably going to say didn't match description or whatever. But that's something that I'm hearing, that you will not get the shipping back on it. So there's kind of a give and a take to it there, but being able to return it for whatever reason, and I don't think it's a big deal on like a $10 item or a $12 item, but when you're selling maybe a $300 or $500 item, I think it's a big deal. I think it is kind of a big deal, and sellers don't want to do returns. Sellers want to get rid of their product and move more product and move more product. Sell 100 items this week, let's sell another 100 items next week, not deal with last week's stuff getting returned. And with that, it's even worse to return it just because you change your mind or you decide you don't want it anymore or something like that. And that's going to be perfectly fine now on Mercari platform. I know you've always had 3 days, but I do like that though. I like that after 3 days, the transaction's done. Everyone should be happy and just move on. That's a good thing. You don't get that on eBay. eBay's 3 months. Now this is another one where I actually can't find it. The only way I found out about this, other sellers on this platform were telling me about this. They were telling me that there's this $2 fee when they want to transfer their money. And the only way to know about this is if they transfer their money. Now, I don't know if this picture I got is truly Mercari because it shows you're transferring money using a credit card, but I'm hearing it's $2 or $3 fee if you're transferring $100. So I'm not sure if it's a percentage or how it goes, but the seller now has to pay a fee to get their money transferred to their bank, which is something that you didn't used to have to do. And that's an issue. And you have to pay an even higher fee, of course, if you want it to be like an instant transfer. And most of the time, you transfer it from, say, eBay would take about a day, maybe half a day, sometimes up to 2 days. And I'm assuming the same thing with Mercari, but eBay doesn't charge their sellers fees for that, but Mercari is charging you a fee for a seller, which is, it's a counterbalance, but maybe you would have paid a total of $25 in service fees for all the items you sold to make it to $100, and now you're only paying Well, 25 would be closer to 200, and now you're only paying $2 or $3 to transfer that. That's a net positive gain for the seller. I think sellers would be okay with eating that cost, but it is a new fee. So let me know what you think about this change. Do you think it's a good idea? Does it entice you to sell on Mercari knowing there's no fees? Are you a buyer and less interested in buying on the platform because you have to pay the fees? Or are you going to try to get around that by, of course, making really low offers and hoping they get accepted? I think that this will definitely be a net negative in the long run. And a year from now, I think they'll go back to the way they were doing it. I don't think in 2025, Mercari will still have the fees set up this way. But I could be wrong, and it could work out. And not all change is good, but maybe this is a good change, and I'm just not really seeing it. But let me know in the comments below, like, and subscribe. Financial Independence 101 out.